Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special guest, Mr. Tony Vandemore. I don't feel like Tony needs much of an introduction, but he's definitely deserving of one. So here it goes. For those of you who don't know Tony, he is a household name in the waterfowl hunting industry. Best known for some of the most entertaining waterfowl hunting videos to date, such as Fuel the Fire, Eye of the Storm, and Buried in Snows. Additionally, he is an owner of the waterfowl hunting destination known as Habitat Flats. Tony has dedicated his life to the pursuit of waterfowl, the preservation of habitat, and enjoys sharing it with the world. We are thrilled to have him on the show. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Tony Vandemore to the Fowl Minds podcast. Well, Tony, welcome to the Fowl Minds podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
You're a multitasker. I love to. Who do we have there?
This is my youngest daughter, Victoria.
Victoria, I'm Clayton. Good to meet you.
Say hi, Mr. Clayton.
Hi, Mr. Clayton.
All right, so that's it.
I appreciate you getting on here. I didn't know you were going to be hunting this morning.
Well, I didn't really either. It's not a big deal. I don't think I think a turkey to come in today is going to have to be pretty dumb and fairly deaf.
Yeah. Well,
we're just enjoying the day. I'd rather hunt with her than not hunt at all.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I guess just let me know if you hang up. I understand. I know but it's actually pretty cool to catch you in action. So
yeah, no, I won't hang up. Trust me.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. Oh, so it was funny. I feel like I'm pretty fortunate because I have two healthy parents that live not too far from me, and I go over to visit my mom and dad occasionally and talk with them. And my mom will kind of tune in on some of the stuff we're doing. And we were talking about the podcast or one that she had watched. And I said, "Hey, Mom, Tony Vandemore is going to come on and do the podcast with me." And she's like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "You should get the guy that had that dog Rough." And I'm like, "Mom, that's Tony Vandemore. That's the same guy." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So it's like everybody in my family loved that video and was super touched by it for sure. That was awesome.
That's pretty wild. That video touched a lot of people, man. I got a lot of messages and whatnot about that.
Right.
It's still just as hard for me to watch today as it was when we made it.
Oh, I can imagine. I just had to put down my 14-year-old Chessie. I had her since she was like 9 weeks. I got her when I was in college. That was when Hayden and I met, and we had originally came up with a concept for Fowl Minds. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's definitely tough. I don't, there's still kind of a void there. I feel like it's I always say that I feel like there's a bond there with anybody that works. It goes beyond, and I know the bond is very deep for people that don't hunt, but it's almost seems like it's another level, because I owned dogs before when I was a kid, and my dad would take me deer hunting, but I never duck hunted. And then when you actually have a dog that loves the same stuff, like it's obsessed with the same stuff that you are, it's like I don't know, I think that's what takes it to another level. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dogs' only fault is they don't live long enough.
Yeah, that really sucks. Well, I like to start these out by asking the guest about their first duck hunt. You remember yours pretty well?
And it was a long time ago. My dad and grandpa and uncles used to take me to blind when I was in diapers.
Wow.
It was a long, long time ago. But I remember so many hunts when I was a kid. I mean, that's really all my memories as a kid is hunting and fishing. And that stuff's priceless. And that's why I'm trying to do the same today with my girls. But I can remember back then we just didn't have the equipment that we do today. I mean, the good clothing, the good waders and all that. I just remember freezing. I mean, my toes were like blocks of ice, uninsulated waders. I mean, you might have a little pair of wool socks from Farm and Fleet or something like that, but just freezing to death, but not wanting to say anything because I didn't want them to think I was too young or, have them not bring me the next day. I've been hooked on it ever since. I mean, I've loved it ever since the earliest days I can remember going to the blind with my dad and uncles and grandpa. I mean, that's all really I've ever known. I mean, that's what you did. You played football on Friday night or went to the football game if you're too young to play. And then you got up and went duck and goose hunting on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And in the summer you went fishing or whatever. It's a different day and age now, for these young kids. I mean, the world it's I guess more dangerous. I mean, it's just a different world. I mean, we used to me and my buddies would leave the house on our bikes with fishing poles at 7 o'clock in the morning and wouldn't be home till dark. I mean, you didn't have cell phones, didn't have any way to communicate. And anymore, I mean, if I let my kids, I'm fortunate to live out in the country, but I mean, if I lived in the city, I definitely wouldn't let my kids go run around, unsupervised, especially when they're 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a different time. I know just around where I live, like it's grown so much. The city's kind of grown up around me. I live in a town called Pearland, which is on the south side of Houston. And, there was only a couple traffic lights when I was a kid. And now essentially it's just part of Houston. So I don't know what I'm going to, it was a convenience. Whenever I was a kid, we had a place to go and, at least get out on the four-wheeler. And, there wasn't a whole lot of like big farm fields or anything, but property backed up against a creek, and there was at least 100 acres that we could go drive around on the four-wheeler and go out there with a fishing pole, like you said. So that's something I got to think about.
It blows my mind anymore driving down like I-35 through Texas. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's just non-stop towns, cities.
Yeah, we had a friend of mine on that's authored a couple waterfowl history books a couple podcasts ago. His name's Rob Sawyer. Primarily does Texas history stuff, but yeah, he was just talking about how Texas and used to be, the habitat. It's just there was so much habitat, and we've just done nothing but destroy habitat. I mean, obviously not with the intent of destroying, to build people's houses or whatever business, and not that you don't benefit from those other things, but it's just kind of sad to hear
yeah, and that's happening in a lot of areas of the country.
Yeah. So where at in Missouri do you live in Missouri, right?
Yep.
Where at do you live?
Yep. So Habitat Flats, we've got 2 lodges in Missouri, and Missouri are about 30 miles apart. We've got our original lodge, which we built, I guess it was 2007. It's right it borders Swan Lake National Wildlife Refuge, kind of in north central Missouri. And then the Grand we built in 2019. It's about 30 miles south and borders Grand Pass Conservation Area, the Missouri River, another incredible place here in Missouri as far as duck numbers, duck holding capacity.
Yeah, I've only traveled to Missouri. Well, it's been twice now, but it was for the National Ag Marketing Convention. But I have some of my relatives from like my third great grandpa, who I obviously never met, lived in Porterville, Missouri. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I think that's down towards the Boot Heel, down in southeast Missouri.
Yeah, so I need to get up there at some point. So tell me a little bit more about Habitat Flats. I mean, I know you mentioned the borders and all that. Like how many acre, like how long has it been in business? I know you said your grandpa and dad used to hunt. How long has it been in business? Like how many acres do you farm?
Well, I grew up in Illinois, and my grandfather had a good duck club on the Illinois River, a couple of them, and got to hunt, his duck clubs, and got to hunt with my dad and uncles, and we goose hunted a lot. Had some really good stuff right outside of town. But I went to school in Missouri. We had really good duck hunting in Illinois when I was a kid, and the older I got, it seemed like the flyway was shifting west a little bit. And I went to school in Missouri, about an hour from where Lodge is now, and hunted all the public land. Missouri Department of Conservation has some fantastic public land, and kind of found all the birds here and never left. And myself and Dan Doherty, he's a local farmer, good friend of mine. Aaron and Ira McCullough, a lot of time and resources managing properties. And when you're only hunting with a couple buddies, I mean, you can't hunt them all. I mean, once you kill your 4 mallards, that's it. So we started Habitat Flats as a way to kind of subsidize our management costs. And I had a snow goose business prior to starting Habitat Flats. And so we kind of put a little business plan, I guess you'd call it a business plan, together, just scratching it out on a piece of paper. And, it was right during the recession. It wasn't a great time to try it, but we figured, what the heck, we're going to do it. And it took off a lot faster than we anticipated.
Yeah, man, for sure. I don't, there was definitely like, I know I grew up watching a lot of Duck Commander Bill Robertson, hell, back before he was even on TV, long before that. And then all of a sudden, when you came on the scene in Habitat Flats, I mean, maybe you were in the background for a while and it was just what I had access to here. Cause I think there didn't seem to be much duck hunting stuff online back then, but whenever your stuff came on the scene, it just exploded. I was like, it was definitely crazy. Like, I feel like there's probably going to be somebody that's gonna drag me over the coals for this, but as far as I know, like, that was the first time that anybody had regularly got just miraculous numbers of birds and just, like hunts of that magnitude, big groups. And, I know that now that I think about it, there are some like that, but just the sheer magnitude and just great hunts and great production. Like, I feel like I know for sure that that was your videos were the first ones that I saw that were of that level. I think you definitely took hunting media, let's say, to the next level for sure. So I can only imagine being there for some of that.
We're certainly blessed with opportunity. We're in a great area with good bird numbers, and I'm in sweat equity getting the habitat right to hold birds, but it was during the recession, but back then, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of online stuff, like the pictures and people sharing pictures of not just the grip and grins, but like ducks in flight and more of the lifestyle. That was just kind of getting started back then, and so it was good timing for us. And like I said, it's just a matter of being blessed with opportunities and good places to get footage and pictures and whatnot.
So I'm curious, what got you into the media side of things and like into that recording it and all of that?
Actually, I mean, I think it was 2001, maybe 2002, something like that. I was working with Avery Outdoors with their pro staff, and back then it's a lot different than it is now, because the internet was getting going, but it wasn't like it is today with all the Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Maybe it was, I just didn't know it, but it was the Avery pro staff back then was a fun way to get together with a bunch of guys that like to hunt. And we had a great group of guys, Travis Mueller and Eric Stanky and Kyle Scott, a bunch of these guys right around us. And it was a fun deal. He went and worked the shows and hung out and got to talk ducks and what we loved to do. And it just kind of grew from there. The Avery used to have that forum, started posting pictures, and that's kind of when the picture thing was really getting going, and just sharing hunts. And I enjoy sharing hunts. I really love taking pictures. I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of photo albums from back when I was a kid. I used to carry a 35 millimeter camera with me everywhere while we were hunting and get pictures of dogs and birds and all that. It's really cool to look back on it now.
Yeah,
And
man,
I couldn't tell you the last time I got a roll of film developed, but it's just it was kind of that digital age. I mean, the different cameras that were coming out. I don't even know what they're called anymore. I used to shoot them a lot. The digital ones you don't have to print. But that kind of started it all, and working with Avery, taking a lot of riders, kind of started getting out there a little bit. And Ira, my partner Ira, he owned Mo Marsh and was doing the same thing with Mo Marsh. So we had a little bit of a head start in the industry prior to opening Habitat Flats, so that helped. But I don't know, I just blessed to see it every day as hunters. I mean, it's kind of, and now I look at it more of sharing the lifestyle. We're all blessed to still be able to hunt. I mean, there's a lot more people would like to see hunting shut down than like to support it. And just want to make sure that we're all kind of doing our part to portray it in a positive manner and, pass on our heritage to the next generation. I want to make sure that my kids and my grandkids get to see the same opportunities in the outdoors that I've been lucky to see.
Yeah, I think I agree. That's a really important aspect of what we have going on today. And, it's like the algorithms.
You hear that gobble? You hear that gobble?
You got one coming up or what?
One just gobbled. He's a long ways away. Now he gobbled on his own to a crow. He's a long ways away.
So I was going to say, it's like, now with social media, it's like their goal on these social media apps, which is understandable, is to keep people on the app. So they're feeding people all this feel good stuff that I feel like isn't a true version of reality. And it's, and so when people see hunting, like if you eat, and as a farmer, I'm not telling you anything here, but just, if you eat, you're responsible for, even if you're a vegan, you're responsible for the death of animals. I mean, that's just the sad reality. It's like, what is Ted Nugent was talking about? It's like, I just kill one antelope, I just kill one antelope. You kill, 100 mice or, 100 field mice and, this and that. And he's like, but, and it's definitely a valid point, but it's like in today's age, they try to, it's just like a feel good mission almost, right? It's not even, and it seems like the people that are, almost, that there's people in it that just aren't telling the truth, that understand that they're just hiding the reality of the situation.
It's crazy anymore. I say it's crazy anymore with some of this stuff that comes out of left field. I mean, people don't know. Oh, you just killed that bird. That's so mean. I'm gonna go to the store and buy my chicken now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think who was it? I'm trying to think of the meat eater guy, Stephen Ranella. I heard him say this at a book signing once. He said he was a vegan, asked a question. It was like a targeted question, and he's like, you know what? I actually have respect for vegans because at least they're try to be consistent. At least it's like you're not eating an animal, right? But still, I mean, it doesn't matter how you chalk it up vegan or not. You're still, no, but yeah, the online stuff. And then like you're talking about where they get upset with you about shooting a bird. And it's like, I don't know. The other part of that too, I feel like, is like, if they had any idea how brutal Mother Nature is, like Mother Nature is like, what you think what we do to animals is bad. It's like Mother Nature is, you'll see, I'm sure you've seen it out in the wild. They don't get to see stuff like this, but being in South Texas, there's a lot of my friends deer hunt, and you might have even seen this picture. There's a picture of a South Texas buck whose antlers were stuck in the fence, and the coyotes had eaten him from the neck down, and he was just bare bones, bare bones. And it's like, could you imagine like being in that situation? Holy heck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here we are over here, we harvest the animal, make sure it's, we're doing our best to make clean kills. If not, then, let's say they're crippled, try to put it out of its misery as soon as possible. It's like, there's far worse treatment, and which I think what you were alluding to, in like the production side of it, right? We're
Yeah.
just,
And to go along with that, I mean, you hear all this stuff that hunters are so brutal and all this. Well, hunters are the best conservationists. I
yeah,
mean, you don't see these PETA people and vegans and all this stuff out there planting food plots, spending their own money to take care of these animals, out there sweating and putting in their own time. I mean, all they're doing is complaining about it online. I mean,
yeah,
hunters are the best conservationists. I mean, it's
yeah,
our license sales and all that pay for the conservation efforts across the country.
yeah,
I mean, that to me says it all right there.
yeah. We're a small fraction of the population, but pay for over 85%. I think the latest number was over 85% of habitat restoration and all kinds of, things that goes into.
Yeah, there's nobody that loves the animals and the birds more than hunters.
Yeah, my friend Rob that I was telling you about, he's got some pretty creative ideas that I might try to try out in the future. And it's one of them that he said was just connecting with people that don't hunt through food. There's obviously a lot of people that are really interested in food, and showing them that side of it, what it's like to be able to shop in God's grocery store, and I think through things like that, and just being, approaching it from a standpoint of not being combative when these people are, clearly abhorrent about whatever you do. And I know for me personally, like when I was younger, I used to find that super offensive. And now it's like, as I've gotten older, I kind of try to, what is it called? I can't even think of that guy's name, but he says it a lot. He's an author. Tactical empathy is what he calls it. But it's, yeah, I think us using some of that and kind of hearing them out. That's actually something I was wanting to talk about with you that was interesting. We're talking about this because the comments, like, so just to give you a little preface what I'm about to say with some stuff about Fowl Minds. So Fowl Minds started, we actually did like a couple built like back in college in 2011, 12, it shut down for a while. I didn't have any discipline, or I didn't have the discipline I needed to really make stuff happen. And then my friend from college who actually, he was filmed in the first hunt, Hayden, but he wasn't actually a part of like the behind the production. And then he owns South Texas Hunting Outfitters. So he does whitetail and exotics, and he became really successful at that. He got, he did a show for a couple of years, and his is called Guides Life, but he connected with a lot of the media people that wanted to get some of the just massive deer that they harvest down there in South Texas. And so anyways, he's like, hey, what about Fowl Minds? He's like, so we gave it a shot. And whenever so I'm going to tie a couple things in here. Hopefully if I lose you, just let me know. I tend to get kind of, my stories go like this. I'm a little bit ADHD. So, but that's right. So he's like, let's start Fowl Minds back up again. And I'm like, I've always had that feeling of knowing that I needed to do it, or I was always going to regret it. So we went for it. We just filmed our second season, and we're about to start the process for editing our second season. We're on Carbon TV. We signed an exclusive contract with them. But what I was going to say was the starting out like posting stuff on YouTube and being too I think critical of myself, and just like the paralysis by analysis situation where I'm like, well, this isn't, and it was inhibiting me from posting stuff that was like less than what I wanted it to be. And it's like, what I had to realize was that, what I had to realize was that you don't get better without doing it, right? And it's like, even though some of it is, slightly embarrassing, I'm not the most proud of it, but I've realized that's kind of who I am. I can be a little bit hard on myself at times, and moral of the story is I just need to start and post and then improve from there. Because if I sit around and not put stuff out, then I'm gonna not get better, right? So, but it made me think about this, because one of my big kicks in the butt, I would say, even after we started filming, but just posting stuff on social media, I get, you see people just get bombarded on social media with comments, and it's like, even hunters, right? Even the duck hunters, right? And so I specifically remember, I can't remember what video it was, but I was looking at one of your videos, and like, I've never heard anybody say anything. I've talked to several people that have met you, some people that have hunted with you, and nobody has an unkind word to say about you. And you're not only, prove that you're super successful at hunting, you're also humble, right? So I'm like, well, of course, nobody would, try to belittle or whatever, just like talk crap on Tony Vandemore, right? And it's like, I get on one of your videos and it's just like guy after guy, just oh, that you were sky busting, or you were blah 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 blah. And it's just like, and that was my moment. I specifically remember reading those comments and thinking, if they're doing that to Tony, like, they're going to do it to everybody. So, I just need to get over it right now and just post and whatever, just face the music, basically roll the punches.
It's kind of, it's not alarming. It's not surprising. It's human nature, I guess. It's much easier to get on there and say something negative than it is to support somebody. And my take on it, like I said earlier, there's a lot more people that don't want hunting than there are hunters. So the more we divide ourselves, the easier it's going to be for those people to accomplish getting rid of guns, getting rid of hunting. I mean, there's enough birds out there. There's enough deer. It's not a contest. Like, we should be supporting everybody, not trying to tear each other down because somebody's got a good spot or whatever. I mean, heck, I hunted public all the time. I still love hunting public. I mean, it's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you deal with you play the hand that you're dealt. And like, as far as humble or whatever, I mean, it's not even a thought to me. I'm no different than anybody else. I've just got the opportunity to probably go a few more days throughout the year, and have created some good places to hunt through a lot of sweat and a lot of risk and all that. But we're all hunters. That's the bottom line. I mean, nobody's better than anybody else. We're all doing the same thing, and it's all of our duty to portray hunting in a positive manner and make sure that our heritage continues to go as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely agree that we all have to get on the same page, but I've gone down this rabbit hole of kind of wondering, and I don't know if this is some form of I go down the hole often of like wondering why it happens, or like the extreme negativity. And I don't know if this is your experience, but it's mine. Maybe it's some kind of bias, but it seems like duck hunters are some of the worst for some reason. It's like, and so I started thinking about why, and occasionally I watch some and read one of his books as well. Jordan Peterson, are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
And he talks a lot about hierarchies. And when the deer hunters, I guess, so here's my thought on this, and it goes pretty deep, and maybe I'm way off in left field. I've never really talked with anybody about this too much, but with deer hunters, you shoot maybe a couple of deer a season, right? Average person maybe shoots one good buck if they're lucky, maybe more. And so that's kind of like their trophy for the year. And when you look online at somebody's pictures or something, it's like, it seems pretty obvious that, and it convolutes things with high fence hunting, because obviously people don't have to be great deer hunters to go out and shoot. I'm not talking about all high fence ranches, but there are high fence ranches out there, as that where the deer are used to people, and it just takes a deep pockets to go and have a wall full of, 200 to 300 class deer. So,
Yeah.
but that convolutes things. But I guess I would say is that if you look at somebody's pictures and you're seeing these deer and you're saying, okay, and you're looking through somebody's pictures and they're like quality deer after quality deer, your brain only, can assume that this guy's probably, where they fall in line of like their seriousness of hunting, let's say. Right. And so, and then with duck hunting, it's like everybody that duck hunts, with the exception of a few people or a smaller percentage, let's say, but it's like everybody that has duck hunted has just about, anyways, I would think it's shot a limit at some point, right? So it's like, you have that, you'll have those pictures, you'll see those pictures of people post them online, and it's like, well, if everybody has one of those, it's like it's hard to tell the difference between how serious somebody takes it. And it's like, with the deer stuff, it's almost like if somebody doesn't have, I guess it's more obvious that they may not take it as serious as the next person. And so whenever they insult somebody about something, it's almost like bringing stuff back on them, like negativity on them, and people will point that out. And, so with duck hunters, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like, it's harder to separate who takes it really serious and hunts every day than from somebody who just hunts once or twice a season. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like, I feel like as human beings, we organize ourselves in hierarchies, right? We naturally try to feel our way on the hierarchy, or where we belong on the hierarchy. And I know that hierarchies are important for that reason, because you don't really have a lot of that back and forth. So I guess that's basically the gist of it. Is I think that it's harder for us to, over social media in the duck hunting industry or the duck hunting realm, let's say, for these hierarchies to naturally develop. And I personally feel like that has something to do why you have so much back and forth. It's like we have, 100, 1,000 or more of a bunch of people that think they're the best duck hunter in the world,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And social media is great, and it's not great all at the same time. It's easy to get on there, post stuff. Could be negative, could be positive, whatever. I think kind of like we talked about earlier, when the pictures first started getting out online, everybody's posting hero shots and all that. I think the last couple 3 years, there's some positives looking at the industry as a whole. I mean, the grip and grin is less impactful now as it was 10 years ago. There's a lot more people that are sharing the experience. I mean, sitting around the camp table, the lodge table, sitting around the duck blind, telling jokes. I mean, sludging through the ice and the snow. I mean, they're telling the whole experience and the lifestyle, and that's what it's all about. I mean, at the end of the day, well, sure, it's fun to kill a limit, but it doesn't matter if you killed 0 or killed 24. I still feel like, even the bad days, I'm blessed and lucky to be out there.
Right. So you feel like it's less. There's been some stuff in the recent past that it's kind of shifted the focus to be not so much people focused on who's better than one another, but just the focusing on the elements that aren't about that.
Yeah, kind of in line with your thoughts. I've always said that, to me, hunters have different phases. When you first start out, you just want to pull the trigger. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're there to pull the trigger. Yeah. And then you want to kill something. It doesn't matter if you sneak up behind a pond dam. Doesn't matter if it's over decoys. Doesn't matter if it's at 50 yards or 20 yards, feet out, whatever. You just want to kill something.
Yep.
And then you go into, you got to have a limit, or it's no good. It is a tough day without a limit. You're going to get that limit however you have to get it. And then from there, the more we mature as hunters, we get to the point where it's like, you know what? I don't care if I pull the trigger today. We're lucky to be here. We appreciate the entire experience, everything, everything involved with it. You know, making a hot pot of coffee, filling up your coffee thermos, meeting your buddy at the gas station, the jokes and the lies and all that stuff. I mean, that's what it's all about, the camaraderie and the experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, that I remember being taught about the stages in high school wildlife as well. It's that's another funny or interesting thing that you bring that up, because Hayden and I had talked about that previously, and I think it was towards the end of last season, and he was saying that there's not stages, and I don't know, we were just giving each other a hard time and going back and forth, but he's at, I think where the thing is like we're at two different stages, and we go hunting together, and when we're trying to get on the same page, sometimes that can be challenging, right? Like, I don't want to shoot at mergansers, you know, like that's not, I would rather just, even if that's the only bird, I would rather just pass on those, you know, and like, okay, we didn't shoot a bird, you know, that's fine. At least we don't have to try to choke down a merganser later over the fire or something. But so that's it. So a little bit off topic, or back to one of the things you said earlier that I found really interesting, was you taking pictures back, you know, and having and going and get the film developed and all that. I think that's really cool. Unfortunately, when I was a kid, it was like we didn't have much. I think I saw it as like an ego thing or something. I don't know. Maybe it was just because my dad didn't take a lot of pictures when we deer hunted, but I never did, and that's totally one of the biggest, you know, regrets I have. Just not. One of my friends who I think him and Ira know each other pretty well, Michael Ashcraft, he's down in Oklahoma, but whenever we met working on a drilling rig together, I started going hunting with him, and he takes a picture every time, like doesn't matter, you know. And so, and he's also very meticulous about the documentation and all this stuff. So that's kind of when I started to adopt that thinking, and since then I'm definitely happy I have a lot of that. The one cool thing that you did recently that I saw on YouTube that I wanted to talk to you a little about was To Kill a King. I thought that was really neat, and I wanted, you know, to hear about how that transpired.
It was unbelievable. Basically, Benelli had came out with the Super Black Eagle 3 and invited me along to test it up in the middle of the Bering Sea in January. And I mean, there's no better testing ground than up there. I think at the time there was only 5 Super Black Eagle 3s in existence, and we had them all up there, you know,
Wow.
in the saltwater. And just a incredible experience. I mean, as rough as it gets. Flying, you know, even just the flight out there on a little plane in the snow, a little ice runway. The whole thing was super, super cool. We were with a bunch of good dudes. I mean, Lee Chose and Jed Larkin and all the Benelli guys, George Thompson. It was a blast. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome to watch that. So I can't remember the fella's name, but one of the first hunts in that little 3-part series was a guy who kind of went out on the Zodiac by himself, or with the cameraman, I think. And I was wishing that it was they just cut you loose on a Zodiac with the cameraman, and you were just going to go out there and shoot one yourself. But I know you ended up getting one. But what was the story behind that? Was it just rough, or you weren't out there yet, or it was just that planned?
Probably wasn't out there yet. Russ was the guide. I mean, you have to have a guide up there. Basically, you're in like a, you know what they are, 10-foot Zodiac with a 9.9 on the back.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to talk about feeling small, I don't know if I've ever felt so small and insignificant in my life than sitting on a 10-foot raft in the middle of the Bering Sea in January.
Yeah.
That is remote. It's cold. It's windy, dangerous. I mean, obviously, probably not for not for us and the guys that do it every day. But for me, it's a hell of a difference from coming from the Midwest.
Yeah, that. Yeah, you don't go offshore fishing a lot on the weekends, I don't suppose.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely incredible to watch. I'm glad, and I'm glad you finally got one. That was a cool pilot to a. I've always loved Benelli's. I probably wouldn't be the best guy to, uh, market their products. Maybe I would, but because my deal is like I have my ones. I have SBE one that my dad got me when I was 14, and it's like never messed up. And then I had an opportunity. Then when the new ones start coming out, people start selling them. That they think they need the upgrade, and Hayden's like that too, right? I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type guy, right? So I picked up another one, and I just like alternate them. Now that my other one's a little bit older, I'll occasionally have some parts wear out on it and send it to Briley, and they'll fix it up for me. But yeah, they're just such reliable guns. I mean, it's like I don't know, man. I know I've gone when we were in college hunting down there on the lower Laguna Madre. There's unreal amount of ducks. I don't know if you've ever got the chance to hunt down there, but
Never have.
it's awesome, man. It's like 85% of the redheads winter, and the largest wintering population of pintail, I think, at least according to Delta Waterfowl when we were in college. But
Wow.
I mean, just before class all the time, I would go hunt. Sometimes I would miss class. But I got my diploma, so my parents can't be mad at me saying that now. But yeah, man, and it would just like I wouldn't clean it sometimes for weeks. And I mean, I'm talking about cycling hundreds of shells through that thing, and it was just like you sit and people get guns, like new guns, like somebody gets the new Remington, and then somebody gets a Browning, like my friends, and they're all it seems like just about every shotgun is a good shotgun for the first couple years, right? And really separates good shotguns or decent shotguns from excellent shotguns is just that longevity, right? It's like, okay, then even and my friends, which this is probably a coincidence, like for instance, Hayden, his Beretta A400, and I'm a Beretta fan too, right? But I think the companies are somehow owned by the same company now or something, right? But
yeah,
even he started having trouble with his A400, his gas powered Beretta, and I was like, gas operated rather, and I was like, man, I guess I just kind of lucked out that my dad had got me that gun, so I love them. And I guess now it seems like there's more competitors in that space since that inertia patent went up or something. But
yeah, it's still like you said. I mean, I shot originally the Super 90 was the first one that came across the pond, and as soon as it did, I shot that, and then switched to the SBE ones, and absolutely loved them. Never thought I'd put it down, and then started shooting sub gauges, and the new stuff. I love the old stuff, but man, like the new SB3, it feels so good. And, it's available on the 20 gauge platform, the 28 gauge platform, which is my favorite. But just like technology's come a long way. The best coating, it's the Benelli surface treatment. I mean, it guarantees that gun. You throw it in the salt water, pull it out, dump the water out of it, don't even clean it. It's not going to rust. I mean, that is incredible stuff. So I'm like you, I do not like to clean a gun and never do.
yeah, that's a good point. I think part of me too, it's like I have these two money pits back here in the background, my airboat, and I have a limousine bus that I converted to 4-wheel drive and lifted, and so that's like my excursion machine. I still love hunting public. I feel like I get a lot of good opportunity. Hayden's big on the private stuff. They started a duck club in the Mississippi Delta, right? Like within 60 miles at duck miles from Stuttgart. And he loves hunting private, but I just love the adventures on the public hunting. Of course, when I public hunt, it's different than when I did it when I was 16 and 15, 16, 17. It's like I don't typically, there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't typically go to a refuge and go wait in a long line and sleep in the truck, but not that obviously I'm not against sleeping in the truck, but I like going out. You know, that there's like a little sliver of land that's just west of Texas that goes all the way up, and it's like less than 1% of the population lives all the way up from the Canadian border down to it's like that's kind of the areas that I really like to hunt, just because I've realized that pressure, you know, especially with public land, is such a big deal that I just like to go out there on my own and just cut loose. And if things break, then that's just adds more to the fun, and just fix it out there or whatever we got to do. But yeah,
Cool.
yep. So maybe whenever I think we got the kinks worked out of the airboat this year, so I ran it for like 100 something hours. I had a little project where I put just a stock Chevrolet 5.3 liter on it, and I put we twin turboed it, and just, you know, stock bottom and everything. And so we ran into a couple issues that were mostly caused by me, but now that we got the kinks worked out, maybe I'll be able to dump a little bit extra money into one of these new Benellis you were talking about. I heard a little bit about that code. I'm interested in it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It really is. It's well worth it.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a look. Well, cool, man. That's about all I had to cover. You got anything you
I enjoyed it.
promote or got on your mind?
No, man, I hope everybody has a good off season. You know, probably the best part of starting Habitat Flats for me is it seemed like, you know, when you're younger, duck season, it takes forever for it to get there because, you know, we didn't have that much to do. I mean, you read magazines and thought about it, but you know, now with Habitat Flats being able to go out there and farm and manage wetlands and do that stuff, my duck season's kind of 365 days. And it is, you know, for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are doing things, helping manage areas or building blinds, and all that stuff just adds to the overall experience. You know, like you working on your boat in the off season. I mean, that's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. We're blessed with opportunities right now as hunters. I mean, we've got early teal seasons, early Canada goose seasons. We've got spring snow goose season. I mean, the glory days are now. I mean, you can hunt from August to May if you want to travel.
Yep. Yeah, I heard Will Primo say that once. These are the good old days.
Absolutely.
You know, of course, can't forget about South America too, the Southern Hemisphere. I like to a friend brought me over there, and it's, you know, of course there was a little absence there in COVID, but we were making an annual deal of it, just going out there to Argentina in August and north of Buenos Aires. And yeah, I think really that's my ideal goal. I do some other stuff for work now just to while we grow Fowl Minds, but ideally that's how I'd like to do it, is starting, you know, South America or whatever, Southern Hemisphere during the summertime, and then go up, you know, your way or towards Canada in October, and just to try to extend out duck season. But yeah, you know, you were talking about that's definitely one thing that you did as well that was different, I found, from some of the duck hunting, other duck hunting shows or tapes, was, you know, talking about that part of it, right? Like the working part of it, and you know, and your passion for that as well, which is really cool. We try to capture some of that as well. And, you know, there's obviously a balance in some of that, but yeah, that was
I mean, I love the off season.
yeah.
I love putting in the sweat. You know, you're out there working on stuff, wondering if it's going to pay off in the fall, and then when it does, it's that much more rewarding.
I completely agree with that. That's definitely the part of that I can relate to for sure, because it's like that for me, but just with different things, right? I'm usually working on one of my machines or something, but I totally feel that. It's like, yeah, the sweeter the sweeter it is, the harder you work, the sweeter the victory is.
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. Well, do you go to any of the expos, the waterfowl expos?
I went to the the Ducks won down there at the Texas Motor Speedway last year.
Did
I
you?
wasn't able to make it this year, but man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Never even been to a track like that, and I walked in, I was like, holy cow, this is huge.
Yeah, that's yeah, it was we went that's but too bad we missed you because Hayden and I went 2 years ago, and then the last year we went or sorry, the last year we didn't get a chance to go, but I think I'm gonna miss this year too. That did you set up a booth there, or you just went there to hang out?
Was down there at the Polaris booth.
Okay, all right, cool. Hell of a deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a cool, super cool event.
yeah, that Texas Motor Speedway and the Ducks Unlimited does a good job of utilizing that property. And it seems like this year there's gonna be a lot more than the year that we went. Like there's dog, I think like dog um not exhibitions, but demonstrations and things like that. Um we're taking so Holly actually sponsored the airboat a couple years ago. So they're having Holly LS Fest at the Texas Motor Speedway on the 20th. So we got I wish I could show you a picture of it right now, but we got a rudder wrap made for the rudders on the airboat. So this is like, I've owned airboats for a while. This is like the fourth one I've owned, and me and a buddy, we put it together out of spare parts. So we call it the rat rod. So we got a pretty funny little kit. We wanted to take it to show the Holly guys just off for a day. So I will be there, unfortunately, but not for, and our local Ducks Unlimited banquet is this Friday as well. And that's when the DUX thing is. So yeah, hopefully I'll catch you out at one of those sometime and get to
Yeah.
meet you in person and shake your hand.
That'd be great. You ever get through our way during season, just holler.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Hayden, if Hayden has his way, I know he's been wanting to go up there and go hunt with you, and I think it would be a lot of fun. So we'll definitely reach out to you if we're up that way.
That'd be great. Hope everybody has a safe off season, and take somebody young out with you this fall, or somebody that hasn't got to experience what we do.
Absolutely, I'll be doing that. Thanks for your time. Tell your little one I said bye. She asleep now or what?
She's getting pretty close.
Okay. Well, hopefully that turkey makes its way over and you'll get some action.
Well, I enjoyed it, Clayton. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.